Welcome to the Trail Chasers podcast. I'm your host, Dean Horwitz, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. Each week, we'll be hitting the trails with some of South Africa's most inspiring trail runners, diving into the topics that matter most and uncovering the secrets of this incredible sport. Lace up your trail shoes and join me on this adventure. New episodes every week.
How's it, Tim? Welcome to the Trail Chasers podcast. So this month we're doing kind of a UTCT special, and we really want to kind of get the inside view of the race and kind of chat to some people that have been involved, for a long time, and just find out, a bit more about it from that kind of perspective. So welcome. Thanks for making time. Tell me something. How did you kind of first get involved in UTCT?
Yeah, Dean, thanks very much. It's actually really exciting. This is my first podcast. Hello, everybody.
Amazing.
Dean, look, I think we got in on the right in the early days for a start, firstly, because I was with VOB Running Club, and I'd been involved in trail running for a long time, kind of since, races like the Old Fisherman's Trail Challenge, the very first races that came up in Cape Town, I'd started getting involved in trail running there. But before then, obviously, I'd been running on my own on the mountain before there was such a thing as trail running. So I'd kind of been around a long time, and I was with VOB, and I was also working at one of the big banks. So I think it was Stuart. I can't remember if it was Stuart or Nick who first got hold of me because they were looking for sponsors for UTCT. So it was a new concept, and they were looking for big sponsors to get involved. And of course, I took it to our marketing department. They told me to get stuffed, so they missed that opportunity. I really do believe that. So, credit to R&B for stepping in and picking up that role. And I think the bank did miss out, but it was early days. So, trail running wasn't really well known. So instead of being a sponsor, Stuart and I think possibly Sue was involved at that stage, asked if we would be interested in taking over doing one of the aid stations. Yeah. And in those, it wasn't just an aid station, it was that Constantia Neck station, which was huge initially. I think the first year it wasn't that big. The second or third year, it was a massive station with a huge amount of stress that went along with it, because it wasn't just, it was a cutoff point, it was a refreshment station, it was a timing station, it was a bag exchange for the longer races, and there were some hectic road crossings as well. Yeah. So we needed a team to get involved, and it needed a huge amount of coordination. And because it was early days, people didn't really know what they were in for. The only experience they had of road crossings was at road races, where you've got cops all place and a lot of people to help. In those days at UTCT, the cops weren't that involved. They kind of sat there and they're smiling at us, trying to get runners across the road. But it's fantastic. It was such an introduction to trail running and big event organizing. So we had a lot right from the early days.
Amazing. And what are some of the kind of more memorable moments throughout the years?
Well, I tell you what, some of the more memorable moments are always the most stressful ones.
Yeah, so, sure.
One of them in particular, which stands out to me, and it has colored my view a little bit. So please, these are personal views I'm giving you. These are definitely not VOB views or anybody else, and certainly not the UTCT views. But one was I don't know if he was an elite runner, but he was certainly doing one of the much longer races, and it was at the bag exchange. So he came to get his bag. So typically what happened is they'd come and collect their bags. Once they'd got their bag and carried on running, we would move it aside and it would get shipped off to the finish so that the runner would have their bag at the finish. So one of the runner's bags had got shifted to the finish before he had actually got to the station to grab his stuff. And did I get a bollocking out from this guy? And he was an international runner as well, which was even more embarrassing. Yeah. So he gave me a piece of his mind. He told me how slack and useless we were, and this would never happen in his country. Now, I'm a grumpy old guy, so normally under these circumstances, I would give it straight back. But I thought, what, you can't do that. This is now an international event. This is an international runner. You can't go and tear a strip of these guys. And I kept my mouth shut, and I don't think he realized what a big effort that actually was. But in any, I don't think a formal complaint was lodged against us. And that year we got the prize for the best station. So it couldn't have been
he
that
obviously
bad.
didn't have any say in it.
He also didn't have any water or anything else. No, I think it was awarded to us before he finished.
And, obviously from the outside, we've seen how the race has evolved and grown. What sort of the big changes that you've kind of noticed, I guess, in the race itself, and also obviously on a kind of micro level in terms of your aid station?
Look, from the race itself, I mean, yes, it's become a lot bigger and very professionally organized. It's really impressive. And, that flows through to the guys in the aid stations. We know how well it's been organized. And there's far more of, I mean, at first it was like a personal thing. You get in there and you're having fun and you're watching the guys come through and you're helping everybody. But now there's a big sense of pride in the aid station. You see the various aid stations are kind of competing to be the station of the race. So there's that. I mean, there's a lot of personal pride that's come into it, and pride in the event, and pride in Cape Town and hosting this thing. So as it's grown, I think you've found that the pride of the people involved has grown with it. And to me, that's kind of been the biggest thing. The other one is that, there's always this big push to be there to welcome the elite runners coming through. And it seemed to be a big thing to be there for the elites. Now, for me, I found that that's become less and less important. It's great. I mean, everybody wants to be there and cheer and help the elites through. But to me, it's become about the bulk of the runners, the people in the middle and the back. And I get far more pleasure from watching those people coming through than the couple of split seconds it takes the elites to come through. They don't really need anything. They just need to be cheered on. I do remember, I think it was last year, one of the elite women, I think it was on the 100-miler. I remember coming through Constantia Glen, and she looked exhausted. I mean, she was obviously still strong. And she said, "Oh, please tell me there's just not more rocks and sand." And everybody in the aid station started laughing and said, no, you're into the beautiful stuff now. You're into the forests and the green belts. So, I mean, it's nice when the elites have a bit of sense of humor, but we don't expect it. I mean, Courtney was absolutely amazing when she came through. She was an absolute delight. She actually stopped and thanked people at the aid station. And to me, that's magnificent when an elite runner can do that. But we don't expect it. We expect the guys to come blitz through. But the rest of the people who come through, and you can see the pain and you can see the effort that's going into it. And, we love watching that and cheering those people on. And me personally, I mean, that's the joy I get out of it.
Yeah.
Not just a T-shirt.
I spoke to Rita, or Rita.
Yes.
And she said she collects the T-shirts.
Yeah, I know. Some people do it for the T-shirt and the snacks. But yeah, I know Rita well. But I mean, I collect the T-shirts as well. But, at some point, I think you have to go through the process of doing the event yourself. And I'm really glad that Dave Wavell's doing at least one of the races this year. I've done it. I only did the 35, but man, that was pain. And I tell you what, that is the most magnificent race I've run in my life. Not because of the pain necessarily, or even the achievement. It was the fun we had. Now, I'm a serial cramper. And by the time we got to what was then the tennis club, it's all burnt out and gone now, and started the climb up the blockhouse, everybody around me was cramping. But I mean, serious cramp. People were screaming. But while we were screaming, we were laughing at each other. And we were offering each other, our various remedies for dealing with cramps. And you found that people were just talking nonsense, and we each taking each other's supplements all the way up to the blockhouse. Then it's basically over. But I've always said that is probably the most enjoyable race I've ever done in my life.
Sure.
And that includes all the road races and running 2 Oceans and running even Otter. To me, that was the nicest experience I've had.
And
And that's
do you
another
think
reason I keep doing the aid station. It's just, I think it's
yeah,
a magnificent event.
does that give you kind of like a quite a unique perspective and a kind of, yeah, a revitalized perspective, I guess, on the race?
Very much so. I
Yeah.
honestly believe that if you work at an aid station, you should try and do it to get a proper idea of what is really
Yeah.
going on in the minds of those runners. I always promised I'd do myself. It was 55. I don't know, is it 56 or 50 these days? I think
55, yeah.
that longer. Yeah, I promised I was going to do that, but every time I get closer to the event, I think, no, this body's not built for that kind of distance, and it's not. But still, 35, I think it's a tough event, and I think it's really worth doing. So even an average runner, you don't have to be an ultra distance runner. You can train up to do that, and I think people should do it.
Yeah. And
Use your discount for
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
volunteer
so
and then do it, and then come back to volunteering.
absolutely, yeah, because then you'll have an appreciation for what these people are going through.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think it's important.
do you have any kind of like rituals, or do you have like a process of how you kind of approach people when they kind of come through the aid station, like, like to determine what they kind of need?
Look, I think you learn to read runners when they come through. And it's almost impossible to say there's a single ritual, but you can see by the look on a person's face whether they need help or not. And I think all the helpers, particularly around the food and refreshments, they know when somebody comes up, because you'll see that one of those people will step up and say, "Let me help you fill your bottle. Do you want water or do you want supplements?" Without even really having to wait for them to ask anything, you'll find that people, and I think most people will read it. And we'll point them to the particular, where the food is, where, anything that you might need, and just point out what is where. But you can see by the first reaction from them whether they need help or not. And some people will just need a chair just to sit down and cover for a short while, particularly the long distances. So I don't have a particular ritual. It's literally, it's reading the runners as they come in.
Yeah. And how do you kind of keep yourself motivated, especially, like those late night shifts?
You don't have to. Look, I actually haven't worked a late night shift. I leave that to Dave Waywell. So he's the conscientious one. I generally do the day shifts, but when you're at Constantia Glen, and particularly on Saturday and Sunday, there are much bigger gaps in between the runners. So quite honestly, you're in such a beautiful spot. I start walking down the path that goes. I obviously don't go too far into the farm, because I don't think the owners want people walking all over the farm. But I start walking down the road just to go and see a little bit of what's down there, and to see what it is that the runners are going through just before they get to our station. So know that they've got a bit of a climb when they're coming up. So that they're not going to be feeling particularly fresh, and they're not going to be bolting through. But also it's an understanding, and I encourage the others to do that. Go and have a look. Just see what's happened just before they get to us.
Yeah.
And it can be quite telling and useful.
Yeah.
But you really don't need much motivation. If you're working a 3 or 4 hour shift, you're normally so busy with stuff. But I mean, I'm working a longer shift on Saturday, but it doesn't bother me. That time goes so quickly. You're so busy interacting with people. When you're not dealing with runners, you're chatting to the people that are helping you. And those are people who are all there because they want to be. They're not being paid to be there. They want to be there to help. So they're there to make the best of their time. And it's good to have a chat and catch up with people that perhaps you haven't seen for a while.
Imagine you've had a hectic 2024. You've run a lot of races. You've put in a lot of effort. Now, cast your mind over to the clear waters of Zanzibar. Beyond white sand beaches, a dial sails across the horizon, and there you are, chilling in your hammock with your well-deserved rest for a hard-earned 2024. Want to make that happen? Check out Luggage Warehouse's Black Friday competition, one lucky shopper will win a return ticket to Zanzibar worth 9,000 Rand. Or you can trade it in for 4,500 Rand in cash, which you can use towards your race entries, your nutrition, or your gear for next year's running. Any purchase, big or small, gets you in the draw, and it's easy to enter. Just shop at luggagewarehouse.co.za or in their Cape Town and Joburg stores during Black Friday week. And if you want a bonus entry, sign up for Luggage Warehouse's newsletter and you'll get one when you make your purchase. Head over to luggagewarehouse.co.za/Zanzibar for the details. T's and C's apply.
And what kind of challenges do you deal with at the aid station?
For me, always the biggest challenge is a road crossing. So we do have a road crossing there. Look, there's such a variety of different drivers out there, but I've had a lot of experience over the years from marshalling road races, that you've seen the behavior of people, and strangely, it's not the people who you would expect who are the difficult ones. I mean, a question I often get first is, how the taxis just come barging through, and actually not. I find the taxis are the best behaved of the lot. They see runners coming through, and they go, "Oh, fantastic! People are running." I don't want to be too rude because there may be people who watch this who drive these cars, but they said that it's normally the more upmarket vehicles, the larger, more upmarket vehicles, who are fairly intolerant of having to wait to let runners through. Look, I do understand that, Cape Town drivers are subjected to a lot of events over the year. There's two oceans, there's the cycle tour, there's, almost every weekend there's a good excuse for having road closures and stoppages along the way. But, and you do understand when somebody's late for their golf tee-off, why they're annoyed when they get to a stoppage. But I think that's more of a problem on the Friday for this year. I think it'll be more of a problem. When you've got drips and drabs coming through, it's actually not a problem. I think on our particular aid station is the fact that it's on quite a steep downhill, uphill as well. So the uphill, not too much of a problem, but you find the cars are coming down the hill quite fast. So we do have signs quite far up the road, but, often people haven't even seen the signs. Suddenly they see it stop. I think at night it's probably less of a problem because I've learned that people who coming down that road think it's cops pulling them over. And they're actually only too relieved to see that it's just marshals at a race.
No.
So to me, the most stressful thing to me is always the road crossings, because you want to make sure that you get runners across that road safely. And you also want to make sure you don't get killed by an angry motorist. But I do need to temper that by saying that at that particular road crossing, I've never had a bad experience with an impatient driver or an irrational driver. You can understand they get a bit ratty about having to wait, but I've never had a particularly bad experience. Constantia Neck, when the big crossing was up there, and I think it's great that they moved from Constantia Neck. That got ugly at times. But we did have very creative marshals on the roadblock. We had a particular woman who'd actually dance in the middle of the road, and drivers were so fascinated by this woman dancing all over the road that they'd stop. And by the time they realized it was just a road crossing, people were across. So there are ways of dealing with these things, and we find them. Just depends. You've got to find the right personalities to be manning the road crossing.
And what do you kind of think sets UTCT apart from all the other races in South Africa?
Well, I think one of them is the fact that it truly is an international event now. So, I understand some of the others. I haven't experienced Otter for quite a long time, or any of the other ultra trails. My days of ultra running anything are over. I don't plan on doing anything over 30 anymore. But to me, this is an international event, not just because we have international runners, but because the people who are involved in it they are convinced it's an international event. You know that pride I was talking about earlier?
Yeah.
That's true. And when that just shows in the whole organization of the event is it's not just the organizers, it's the volunteers. The volunteers know they're in an international event. And that's, to me, that's what makes it especially indicative that you're in an international event.
And what advice would you give to someone who's either running their first UTCT or volunteering for their first time?
Okay, for running, look, it depends obviously on the level of the runner. These are experienced runners. They know what to do. They know the drill. So this is more aimed at the average runner. Is, you know, maybe you've set yourself a personal goal and maybe you're competing with other people. But my advice would be don't. Is just enjoy it. Run within yourself for as far as possible and leave it late to give it a go if you're going to give it a go. And particularly if it's a distance that you're not used to. So if you're not cranking it up the 100K, don't overdo it in the beginning. Don't go out and kill yourself. So much beautiful stuff to see out there. Just go and enjoy the event. And once you've got the experience, try again next year and try and race it. But unless you've got the miles in your legs, don't go out and try and kill it.
Yeah.
I see many people bailing, and I've seen a lot of people bailing from the event. And it's a lot of money. It's not that cheap because it's an international race, so you pay to enter an international race. So don't waste your money. Have some fun and enjoy it. Come away with a medal.
And for first-time volunteers?
Yes, okay. Listen to the people who've done it before. Don't come in, try and be a know-all and take over. You know, whilst the enthusiasm is appreciated, there are people there who've been and done it before. They know what to expect, and they know the drill. I mean, sure, give some ideas because you can always improve. But if they don't agree, just kind of go with it and check out what happened. But also, make sure you have fun while you're doing it, because if you're not having fun, you probably there. And if you're just doing it for the T-shirt and the snacks, and I know Rita isn't, I know well enough.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, she is an enthusiastic person and she loves being involved. But in the past, we have had people who were so angry that they got the wrong size T-shirt that they never came back and did again. And, you know, I'm sorry they went through that experience because their expectations weren't. And, you know, they were volunteering to stand that. But, you know, I think they were there more for the wrong reasons. So if you volunteer, be there for the right reasons. It's such a lacquer experience. And, you know, a couple of hours out of your day, but you can get so much out of it. So, you know, don't get misery. Just go in and have some fun.
I love that. And what runners coming into the aid station, what kind of would you want them to kind of be cognizant of? You know, obviously some of them are going to be deep in the pain cave, but what would you kind of want them to be kind of aware of?
What I would like runners to do is just listen to the people, the aid station people, as you're coming into the aid station, guiding you to various things, or if you're not interested, the direction to go. Because at Constantia Glen, you do often get runners who are in a bit of a dwell. I mean, maybe they've been through the aid station and then they come to the road crossing and they're looking confused and not listening to the people who are trying to help them across the road. And once you get across the road, you've got to turn right, straight down the hill, the valley. And they're still looking around if they don't know where to go. And people are pointing them in the right direction. And I know they're tired. You know, if you come in that aid station, it means you're doing a longer event. And whether it's the 55 or the 100 kilometer or the 100 miler, and by the time you get there, you're going to be a bit tired. So it just takes a little bit of focus, and I think it applies to any aid station. When you go in there, just listen to the people talking to you. I mean, maybe you're looking around for your supporters who may be meeting you at that aid station. That's fine. But if you want to get the value out of the aid station, listen to the aid marshals, because they get what they offer, what they don't offer. If you need it and you ask for it, they'll tell you whether you can whether you can get that there. So, for example, ours is not the biggest refreshment station either. That's more down on the Alphen Trail. And so we how far it is to the Alphen Trail, and there you get a proper aid station with everything that you'll need. But some of them will get confused because you're at an aid station that you're expecting full suite, and it's not that. But we'll give you the information that you just to explain where you can go in order to get what you need.
Amazing. And what are you most looking forward to this year?
I think it's seeing my mates coming through. So I mean, obviously I do like what anybody who comes through, but I love seeing my mates coming through and seeing them in a bit of pain, seeing them suffering because they're not running and not having to go through it. And, we give each other a bit of a hard time. And so it's not come through, and it's always in good spirit, and just giving them a bit of a rev as they come through. Because, I mean, I think it's important. I think it lifts the spirits. And to me, that's always a highlight, is when somebody is coming through and, they give you a weak smile or no smile at all. And then you know exactly where they are because you understand what they're going through. So, I think that's the nicest. That's what I look forward to the most.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much.
Come through. No, you're most welcome. I hope I see if anybody's watching this, I hope I see you coming through the aid station. And you can give me come through.
Amazing. Personalized service.
Yeah. But for being fat and lazy, not running, you're welcome to give me.
Amazing. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks,
I'll chat to you
Dean.
soon. I'll probably see you some stage during the weekend.
All right. Okay, great.
Amazing. Cheers.
Feeling fired up after this incredible episode? Dive deeper into the world of trail running by exploring our other episodes, available wherever you get your podcasts. We're eagerly awaiting your feedback as well, so connect with us on Instagram @TrailChasersPod. Don't hold back. Like, comment, message, and share your thoughts. Until next week, keep chasing those trails.